20 people in the Office of Neurological and Physical Medicine Devices at the FDA were just fired. That is the unit at the FDA that was investigating Elon Musk's company. And that was literally Russian propaganda.
The more I watch Rachel Maddow, the more I realize how strong the propaganda campaign against her was, because even I had kind of prejudged her, but she actually does really solid journalism. MAGA only hates her because of how thoroughly she exposes their corruption. So I want to look at her here in depth, exposing the corruption and reason behind Elon's mass firings we've seen him led in the government as an unelected bureaucrat. So be sure to like this video. It helps us out a ton. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll be back with the fact checks.
20 people in the Office of Neurological and Physical Medicine Devices at the FDA were just fired. Perhaps coincidentally, that is the unit at the FDA that was investigating Elon Musk's company, the company that he owns that wants to graft computer chips onto people's brains. People doing that oversight work for Elon Musk's company are just fired at the FDA. And on that point, on that story, here's the thing we're seeing over and over again now. Quote, the dismissal letters sent to FDA reviewers cited performance reasons, even though these employees had no issues on their prior performance and had received top-notch rankings several weeks ago, according to 2 sources familiar with the matter.
Trust me, it goes on, but we first had reporting from the New York Times that showed how largely Musk was targeting agencies that were investigating him and his companies and avoiding those who were paying him, to the tune of almost $16 billion. But this is even more definitive than that. He's now directly firing staff in departments with direct oversight into his company, citing performance reason when it's clear, as it shows, their performance was fine. It's almost like he's just writing down any reason to fire the people that are on his back and investigating his companies, where again, ignoring the ones that pay him money, which is again why this is a massive conflict of interest, where the intent is to engage in corruption and to fund tax cuts. It's not to cut waste or fraud, but let's go on. MAGA, just know you fell for it again.
Same thing is happening among people being fired at USDA and at the Department of Education and at the U.S. Forest Service and at the VA and at the Small Business Administration and at the Department of Transportation. NBC News reviewed documentation there that shows people being fired supposedly for performance reasons had just received, quote, exceptional performance reviews. I don't know if the pattern here seems as obvious to everybody as it does to me, but it seems to me like it's a pattern, right? There was no $50 million in condoms for Gaza that Hamas used to make their bombs. There are no 150-year-old Americans getting Social Security checks. The Reuters news agency did not get a government contract to deceive the public. The government does not fund the New York Times or Politico to produce positive stories about Democrats. The U.S. government does not pay for celebrity junkets to Ukraine. That was literally Russian propaganda.
Does it need to be any more clear than this? The idea that people are still defending Doge and Musk and they're claiming that their intentions are still to find fraud and waste and corruption is beyond me. These people are the people who will just always carry water for Trump and MAGA and the things he's doing. I mean, the math here is really simple. They have $4.5 trillion in rich guy tax cuts to afford. They only have $2 trillion in spending to Medicaid, Medicare, food stamps, WIC, etc. that they have planned thus far. They need to foot that difference somehow. And if that somehow is costing good, lifelong, in some instances, employees their jobs, then so be it. Because they can just sell it to MAGA as lazy bureaucrats because they're the party of the working class. But if it's a working class government employee, they obviously don't count. Their family doesn't matter. Their money that they make to pay their bills for childcare or put their kid through education or whatever doesn't matter because they're bureaucrats.
They're now firing the people who work at the CDC on bird flu, as bird flu becomes a massive multi-state epidemic affecting tens of millions of animals in America and increasingly people. They have now stopped all of the programs in Mexico run by the State Department's Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement. What do these programs in Mexico do for the State Department's Bureau of International Narcotics Law Enforcement? What do they do? Oh, that's the part of the U.S. government that tries to stop the supply chain for fentanyl coming into this country. All of their actions have been stopped. They've now started firing people at the part of HHS that funds childcare and Head Start. They are firing the people who work at Gettysburg. They are firing the people who work at Shenandoah National Park in Virginia.
Again, their actions give the game away. They just know that MAGA won't pay attention. Trump doesn't care about the fentanyl coming across the border. It's literally just a political talking point that helps him and helps him demonize brown people, which is the real goal with his border policies. Despite most fentanyl coming into America from Americans, we know this, it's like 93%. As now, I mean, he's literally defunding things to prevent it. Why would he do that if he cared about it? To further fund the tax cuts. That's why he's doing it. Remember, the party of the family branding that Trump had but couldn't answer a single question about how he would improve childcare under his presidency. It's because Trump had massive cuts to childcare and Head Start plan. That's exactly why. What for? Oh, well, I'm sure you guessed it. More rich guy tax cuts. And in the wake of another possible disease outbreak, he's laying off HHS, NIH, and CDC staff specifically for the bird flu, which is the disease that is at risk of breaking out. Like, it doesn't get any dumber than this. It literally doesn't get any dumber than this. And if bird flu boils over and causes our country to shut down or something of the sort, MAGA will still be saying somehow, well, it's Biden's fault and Biden killed birds first and it was his doing and whatever. It wasn't true. Like just how they did with COVID, because he did similar stuff in the wake of COVID. He cut pandemic-related staff. Then a pandemic happened. We are quite literally being re-walked down the dumbest path in American history that we were walked down once, and it led to the COVID pandemic. And now we're just being walked down it again because why not?